Let's talk Lion's Brain. So this is their new proprietary blend that's most healthy for your brain. So if you're looking for decreased symptoms of depression, decreased symptoms of anxiety, you want more energy, this is a great supplement. So it's all natural, has all organic products in it, B vitamins, magnesium, and a whole surplus of anti-inflammatory mushrooms, all legal, and it helps to optimize your brain health. So check out Lion's Brain.
Hey, this is Katie Walker with ReThink with Revitalist, and today we are changing the narrative of mental health, and I am honored to be here with the CEO and founder of Walk the Talk America, which is an amazing name, Mike Sodini. So Mike, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm wearing his shirt right now. So it says the intersection of guns and mental health, which I love. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how'd you get into this?
So I'm a third generation firearms industry professional. I got my job through nepotism. So I recommend that to anyone. But I owned a gun company for many years, and what I noticed about the term gun violence is 2/3 of it was suicide by firearm. And I always looked at the industry as a place where it's full of good people that have the best intentions, that just love their Second Amendment right, and they love protecting their family and their community. And for me, it was like far too long. We never figured out a way to be involved in the mental health conversation. Mental health always blamed us. We always blamed mental health, and then nothing ever happened. So in 2018, I started Walk Talk America. And what we do is basically bridge the gap between the firearms industry and the mental health community, and look for innovative ways to get gun owners help without fear of consequence or rights restriction.
Sure. So what's your primary target? Like, or where are you? Are you across the United States?
We are nationwide. All of our programs are nationwide. They have to be because, let me give you an example. Companies like Ruger or Bursa or High Point, which are firearms companies, they put free and anonymous mental health screenings in all the boxes of their guns. Their guns get distributed all across the United States. So for us, it only makes sense to be a nationwide company.
Yeah. So it's normalizing guns, basically. It's like, you're not normalizing it, but it's taking the fear away from people who want to take away guns. It's kind of helping to educate the audience to where they feel more comfortable, not only with the use of guns, but also from a mental health perspective.
Well, I think it's education on both sides, right? Because we have to educate not only the gun people to demystify the counseling process and who can and who will actually take your firearms, or what that means. And then we're also educating the non-gun owners, like the people that don't understand the gun industry, the people that don't understand gun culture, the Second Amendment culture. So it's a little bit of both, right? You're basically, like I said, bringing two people together and getting them in a situation where they're not looking at each other like this is your fault. So
right.
When the gun people come to the table with solutions, right? So the non-gun people are always like, hey, restrict their rights, take the guns away, this and this and that. And then the gun people say, no, Second Amendment, probably from my cold dead hands. Then they go, okay, well, what's your solution? Now the gun people can be like, this is what we're doing. This is what we are going to do in the future. We're doing this better than you.
Yeah.
Like now you're taking a little bit more seriously in the conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something, we kind of briefly talked about the other day, is because I love to talk about suicide, because I think nobody's talking about it in a way that is normalizing the conversation. Most people try to avoid it, or they're just afraid to talk about it. But a big piece with the gun aspects is, yes, guns can be used to end your life, but so can medications. Mm-hmm. And medications, nobody's talking about take the meds away. Yes, are we looking at limiting opiates and benzos? Sure, we're looking at limiting those, but we still prescribe those all the time. But a lot of the medications that people actually use to kill themselves these days are antidepressants. Like, you can take a bottle of antidepressants and it will kill you. But nobody's looking at that. Like, you don't hear anything about that piece. Like, so my piece is like, it's got to be education, not only around, medications. Like, yes, these can cause harm as well as guns. And let's figure out, how do we actually use these as effective tools for protection and all those different pieces. And I think that's the piece with society. Yeah, it's a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, I think for what you do and what I do, we're trying to get upstream to prevent the unpredictable, right? We're trying to keep people healthy. We're trying to get to them early. We don't want them to get to stage 4, right? We want to give them tools,
absolutely,
education, everything at stage 1 or stage 2. So, you know, they can get through crisis, because crisis is temporary, right? But if you don't give them those tools, if you don't give them out of the box ideas for treatment and things like that, then they hit stage 4, and that's when something horrific happens, and that's where we're trying to stay away from.
And that's the only thing that we do in mental health right now is intervene at stage 4.
Yeah.
We don't teach anybody on the ground level as to what looks like normal versus what looks like abnormal. And I think with the mental health screenings that you have, that it's a free mental health screening, people are so afraid though, like, because they don't know what normal is versus what abnormal is. And it's like, if we can get them in that kind of a confidential space to where it's like, no, let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on, you know. And unfortunately, we do have a very knee-jerk society.
Yeah, I mean, between social media and all the fear-mongering that happens, you could see why. But, you know, like I said, I've been around for 6 years, started the organization in 2018. In the very beginning, it was hard to get, when gun owners saw guns and mental health, they immediately jumped back because they're like, stop blaming the gun. I'm like, no, I'm not blaming the gun. I'm one of,
you're trying to,
we're in the same tribe, right?
Right,
yeah,
right.
I was like, but guns and mental health are not mutually exclusive. And we can't just let fear-mongering get in the way of saving a life, right? Like I tell people all the time, don't let data get in the way of saving a life. Don't let fear-mongering get in the way of saving a life. Like, let's talk about it and figure out solutions.
Right. So what's your biggest target right now, like for growth and different pieces?
You know, for me, it just, I had this conversation the other day with somebody. I was like, every day is mental health day for me. Every day is suicide prevention day. Because they're like, what are you doing for World Suicide Prevention Day? I'm like, nothing, because every single day is that day.
You're not wrong.
So I am just literally, my target is to educate and keep talking to the mental health side, keep getting gun industry participants, whether that's gun manufacturers, gun shops, gun firearms instructors, to be part of this conversation, to get behind the organization and distribute our material through their channels. It never ends. I mean, you know, the mental health community and the firearms industry are both massive. So, you know, we're a few volunteers that really do this work, and so it will never end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but gun owners are growing by, you know, the thousands daily. So every gun owner that is there,
it's a new person to educate.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something, you know, and we can talk about this further, but like I think we briefly mentioned it, but it's like, I ask people all the time, like, how do you measure your mental health? Like, we know how to measure our blood pressure. We know how to measure our heart rate. It's like, how do you measure your mental health? And so we've got to break this down to where, you know, like I have that scale that I have that, you know, it talks about, you know, it's 5 questions and it gives them a score, period. You know, it's like your R ring. It helps you to measure how was your sleep quality, but nobody is like, how do you measure your mental health?
Right.
It's like, I don't know. It's like deer in the headlights, you know? So that's the piece, is like, we just got to get to and it's exactly what you're doing, a very basic boundary on, here's how you measure your mental health, and here's how you know when you're kind of going in the yellow zone. And then, you know, and we do it from we start in the green zone, not in the red zone, because that's the only time that we're doing anything right now is in the red zone. So start in the green zone and let's start educating people, because, you know, a lot of things, like especially with veterans, like I talk all the time, like your IQ and your EQ can't mature at the same time. So IQ meaning, and this is why like a lot of really, really good surgeons, they have terrible bedside manners because they're really good surgeons. So you can't work on your communication, emotional intelligence while you're actually out executing. And that's with veterans, like their emotional intelligence on like feeling peace and calm and loving people and being kind. And, you know, that doesn't focus, like that's not a focus when you're like being deployed, because you're a machine and machines don't have emotions. And then when we pull them back, right, they're still a machine, but we've got to help teach them their emotions, because it turns off. And it turns off when you're in a high stressed environment, when your sympathetic nervous system is in overload, or when you have an addiction. So when people get addicted to alcohol, different things like that, like your mental health turns off, period. And you're just executing. So like I'll ask people, a lot of the veterans, I'll say like, do you have therapists who say like, just step back, just take a breath, calm your system down. I'm like, do you feel like you're like running from a bear? And they're like, no, just slow down. The bear's still chasing you, but slow down, take a breath. And they're like, yes, like I can't, like I literally can't, and so that's the piece is like, we've got to like, balance those two things with like, your emotional aspect versus your sympathetic nervous system aspect, and how do you balance those two? So
yeah, I think just normalizing it too just helps, right? Like, so take for example, a lot of vets, a lot of active duty military, a lot of first responders gravitate towards firearms, right? It just makes sense because it's part of their identity, it's part of their career.
Yep.
Everybody knows when you get a firearm, you're going to hit the basic safety rules. Those are going to get drilled into your head if you take any course, right? Then you're going to learn what to do in a defensive shooting and understand the law. Especially people that go get their CCW, which is their concealed carry. They understand that they can't just shoot somebody and their life's going to be perfect, even if they're 100% in the right, like someone's breaking into your house. Now we add that next element to normalize mental health. Hey, you're a new gun owner. What's your mental health plan and what's your suicide prevention plan, right? And you're telling them to have that before anything's ever happened. And it doesn't even have to be for the actual gun owner. It could be for, hey, my son in the house just got his heart broken, right? So now we have an action plan for my firearm, so he doesn't have access. He's responsible. But see, when gun owners keep hearing that they can be part of the mental health conversation, then it normalizes it, and then they're not afraid to talk about it anymore.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and that's the goal, right?
Yeah,
that's the goal of all of it. You don't take away, it's like people are like, oh, take away social media, take away the phones. And I'm like, no, you teach your children how to turn their brain off. Don't just take it away because they don't know how to use it. Teach them how to use it. And that's what society doesn't understand, from those pieces. Yeah, it's all about empowerment and being aligned, and all these new therapies that are coming out in the space, the psychedelic therapies, ketamine therapies, different things like that. Like, those are really amazing tools that are helping people to kind of not realign. It gives them realign with themselves, but it also opens their aperture per se to be like, oh gosh, yeah, I was a jerk then. Like, it's allowing us to kind of have that retrospection.
Yeah, it's like the ego death. Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of gun owners that call and are very interested, particularly in the type of treatments you're doing. But it's this weird position they're in because obviously, law-abiding citizens, guns, but they're at their wits' end, and say maybe the standard medication that they have taken that has been prescribed to them isn't working for them, and they want to try something new. So I think like this is the next generation of these treatments that are just out of the box, that are kind of counterintuitive, because like a lot of people think, oh, drugs bad, like psychedelics, because you just think of all the things you see on Hollywood and stuff like that, and it's just not the case. It's really bringing peace to people and giving them a whole new perspective of life.
Well, and I think that's what the brain, it's like the brain will duplicate what it knows, just like muscle memory, but with psychedelics and ketamine therapies, like it gets you to sit with yourself to where you're not connected to anything, and you feel that truly immersive peace and calm. Like, you feel that, and it's like once the brain feels that, it can duplicate it. And if it can't feel it, it can never get there. It's like, it's like telling a 5-year-old to try to drive a bus. Like, the 5-year-old can't drive the bus because it doesn't have that skill set yet, and that's the neat thing with ketamine psychedelics. It causes the brain to start regenerating, and their medications or drugs, whatever you want to say, used as an intervention. And I think that's the piece is, because people are like, oh yeah, like drugs, whatever. But buddy, they're fine to take medications 1, 2, 3 times a day, a pill to make me feel normal. And it's like, and then they don't look at that as like addiction, like, and they may not like feel like they are addicted to the substance, but like any type of antidepressant pills, benzodiazepines, anything that anybody's taken on a daily level, your brain is addicted to that substance. It needs that substance. And you may not yearn for that substance, but your brain's addicted to that. So that's a piece to where it's like, with ketamine therapies and the psychedelics, like a lot of times people have those therapies, those interventions, and they're able to get off all these medications, right. And that's the beauty, is like, we don't realize the power that we have as people. Like, our brains are amazing. We keep trying to put our brain in a box. We can't put our brain in a box. But the more that we can educate ourselves and learn to like what our brain's doing, the patterns that it's following, the use of guns, the use of mental health, and vice versa, hearing both of those sides and integrating those, like, that's when you learn how to flourish within your own self and your own skin, and become, purpose driven. And, that's what's called living life.
Yeah, no, I look forward to the day that this just becomes a normal conversation, and I'm not here to stigmatize anyone that takes regular medication and it works for them. Because I'm a true believer that if it works for you and it's what keeps you on track, then it's perfect. And there's millions of people that take medication and they don't shoot up schools and they don't do the things that, people say, well, watch out because they gave you that medication to do. But if regular medication isn't working for you and you're trying to take, you're taking it the right way. You're not going out and drinking every night and taking your medication, right? You're keeping a journal, you're watching your diet, you're looking at your sleep patterns, and it's not working. Ketamine treatment and psychedelics, I think, are that next step. I've seen it work for people. So, when I met you yesterday, I was like, I'm all in, because we got to educate gun owners on this, because there's a lot of gun owners that just automatically go to that negative space. Well, it's drugs. It's like, yeah, it's not just drugs.
Yeah.
And it's also the education that comes with you providing the treatment, right? You're teaching them.
Yes.
You're giving them a plan.
The breakdown of all of it. Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you with walk the talk, But yeah, Mike, what would you tell people, from a mental health perspective, what would you, if you wanted people to hear something today that may be struggling with their mental health, what would you say?
I would say that if you're a gun owner, just understand that guns and mental health aren't mutually exclusive. They can go together. And as someone who's a staunch 2A supporter, sometimes I feel like we won't get involved in the conversation of mental health just because, especially when something tragic happens, that we just don't know how to fit in, or we don't know how to stand on our Second Amendment commitment or our morals, without sounding dirty during these times when people are just like, something needs to be done, children are dying. Well, go to Walk Talk America, be part of the conversation, understand that the gun industry now is moving forward to provide out-of-the-box solutions to these issues that can make you part of the conversation, where you don't have to feel ashamed anymore. You can't be like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to address these issues. So I think my message to gun owners is there's hope. We're figuring this out, and I see us as the future leaders in the mental health space, which I know there's a lot of listeners that are like, the gun industry is saying they're going to be leaders in mental health, but I truly believe that.
I do believe that, and I think it would be really cool. It's like you start with guns, you educate there, and then you start putting everything else in the same bucket as guns. It's like guns, medications, alcohol, and it's like, and we start educating on all those different pieces. But yeah, you let the guns, the most extreme-ish, you let that lead the conversation. Yeah. Absolutely, I agree with that. So if they want to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch?
They can go to our website at WTTA.org or WalkTheTalkAmerica.org, and any of our social medias, which is at Walk the Talk US.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you for
having
me. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let's talk Lion's Brain. So this is their new proprietary blend that's most healthy for your brain. So if you're looking for decreased symptoms of depression, decreased symptoms of anxiety, you want more energy, this is a great supplement. So it's all natural, has all organic products in it, B vitamins, magnesium, and a whole surplus of anti-inflammatory mushrooms, all legal, and it helps to optimize your brain health. So check out Lion's Brain.